Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm just a women activist. I've come here to share my views about certain things, what is happening in the society. I'm sure you are all learned people and you know much more than what I'm going to tell you. But what I'm going to share is from my own experience, and based on that experience, the analysis what I have about the society and the things which is going around. Now currently, at this stage, everybody is talking about a serious climate crisis and a serious food crisis. There is a serious food crisis globally, and of course India is also facing ahead for that. And now the challenge in front of us is how are we going to tackle this. Now just looking around the situation in India and also in Tamil Nadu, the agricultural land is increasingly getting reduced. There are so many reasons for that. On one side, our population is increasing, and on other side, so many new industries are coming up, and all these special economic zones and all other things are also taking up the agricultural land. So because of that, there is a serious crisis in agriculture and also in production. Now having said that, on the other side, the global warming and the changes in climate is also catching up with the agriculture production rate, and so it is also affecting the agriculture production. And the scientists have predicted, as all of you know, that if the temperature increases to 2 degrees, the wheat crop production will drastically come down, which means the entire crop is going to have a real problem, which is that because that is their staple food, and dry paddy also will have a problem, which means we have to seriously think about alternative food production. So what is the alternative that is there in front of us? Now, talking about Women's Collective, it's a collective of women-headed NGOs who are working for empowerment of women, which cut across all sections of population. So we are also working with women farmers. According to us, any women, our definition of women farmers, because normally when you say farmers, it doesn't include women. Only men are referred to as farmers in this society. Women are hardly referred to as farmers, except when they are single women, women-headed households who are directly involved in farming, they are not referred to as farmers. But according to Women's Collective, the definition of women farmers is all women who are involved in farming activity are women farmers. So which means even the agricultural laborers, we are considering them as women farmers. So that is our definition, from where my analysis and explanation is coming from. So based on that, what we have seen in the last 10-15 years, people are increasingly, the agricultural land is getting reduced, water availability is getting reduced, production is getting reduced, labor availability is getting reduced, the quality of the land and the environment is getting reduced, the quality of the food what we are eating is also very bad. In fact, we are eating poison. Every day and day in and day out, we are eating poison. The Green Revolution, of course, has helped us to increase the production when we were really food starved. But after 40-50 years, what has happened is the increase in use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides is showing it on our health. So in the last 50 years, if you see the number of hospitals which are increased, and medical shops around. So every day you can see new hospitals coming up and new medical shops. Maybe in the last 10 years, the number is really, I don't know what fold it has increased. So from your own area, you can do that analysis. So safe food is a very big question. So all what we are eating is junk. And the other factor which has contributed to this is globalization and the culture of globalization. The other factor which has contributed to the culture of globalization is media and the number of advertisements that are there in the media, which is catching up our children, youngsters and the middle-aged people. So the only people who still remember that the good food that they have eaten is the older people, the elders, the senior citizens. All others are really having problem today. Now, you are going to be the future of this country. You are going to be in a very decisive position where you are going to take a lot of decisions. Now, this is one of the areas which has to be seriously taken into consideration, at least as a person who is also a farmer myself, not by the definition of women's collective, but as a person who is owning land and who is cultivating myself. What I have seen in my own experience is that the policies need a great change. I'll just give you an example. In 1983, when my father was alive, when he was selling coconut, the coconut was sold for 3 rupees 50 paise. I'm talking about the government procurement centers. At that time, the coolie, that the labor charge what we gave to the labor for climbing the tree per tree was 25 paise. And today, I am also selling at 3 rupees 50 paise. But the labor charge for climbing per tree is 7 rupees 50 paise. The other day, one of the scientists who was working in Hyderabad was sharing in a meeting. He was telling that he joined the Scientist Society in 1996 when his salary was around 8,000 rupees. At that time, that's a cotton development center. So at that time, he was telling that 1 quintal of cotton was sold for around 2,500 rupees. Then after that, the 5th pay commission came, and then he got an improvement in his salary around 12,000 rupees. Now the 6th pay commission, and his salary is 80,000 rupees. And today, 1 quintal of cotton is sold for 3,000 rupees. That too because there was a demand. Last year because the supply was less and so there was a demand. Because of that the cotton was sold. So now just imagine 60% of this country, earlier it was 80%, now 60% of this country is dependent on agriculture and its allied activity. So 60% of the country is actually struggling to stand on their own. Whether they are farmers, direct farmers, or they are contributing in their agriculture field, their income is very limited. Looking around, with a hike in the prices, it's very difficult for them to make both ends meet. And we know in India, there are so many statistics which are around. But at least one statistics which says that 46% of the malnourished people, children in the world are in India. That is because, again because of the income is not enough and so their food take is not enough, and plus the food intake what they take is poisonous. All these factors are contributing to it. And they say out of the TB patients in the world, 30% are in India. I mean, India has got that respect. Everywhere we are first. Out of the diabetes patients, 50% are in India. Out of cancer patients, another 70% are in India. In everything, all these things we are leading, mainly because our population is large. And also all these health factors are because of the current agriculture practices. On one side it is not beneficial for the farmers, the other side is not beneficial for the consumers also. Both the sides it's a problem. So the farmers who are supposed to be the producers for the entire nation, how are they to be treated? So what is the policy? What is the government's policy to support these farmers? With globalization and the new economic policy, we know that the subsidy is greatly reduced. Today, the government procurement centers are only there in few states. Even the government decides not to buy the wheat. For example, year before last, the government in North India decided not to buy wheat from the farmers. The wheat prices plowed down to 650 rupees. The outside market was 900 rupees. But later, the government imported wheat from outside. When the farmers had abundant production and when they had enough wheat, the government was not willing to buy the wheat and store it. Instead, they decided not to buy it after a certain day. The outsiders bought it and they stored it and they sold it at a very high price. And this can be also linked to the online trading. So that all these factors are linked. So which means when we are thinking about one sector as agriculture, and because the reason why I am taking this sector is 60% are involved in agriculture and 80% of the people who are involved in agriculture are women. So the impact of this one sector is very heavy on women. So if this one sector is improved, definitely the status of women will be improved. You talk about education, you talk about all these Millennium Development Goals, whether it is education, health, IMR, MMR, all those things. All these things are related to the food you intake, the water you take. If you provide safe food, safe water, ensure that nutritious, safe food and water is available to your people, then all these MBG things will be fine. If you take 8 goals, out of which 4 are related to health. And when the health is very poor, how do you expect people to go and do the education? The very first goal of poverty. How can we reduce poverty? All these things are linked in this one sector. But so I strongly feel, at least as people from women's collective, we strongly feel that agriculture is one of the sectors which has to be